Today we've got the voice of Coastal Carolina football and the face of Coastal Carolina football, but they're here to score points for babies. Who are they? You'll meet them coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Holiday Inn West on the Waterway, right next door to the brand new Hard Rock Park. We're focused on tomorrow's March for Babies, to be held at Brooks Stadium at Coastal Carolina University. And we're visiting with the honorary chairman and one of the parents of part of the ambassador family from Coastal Carolina University, Coach David Bennett and Matt Hogue. Matt, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Pleasure, Greg. Good to see you.
Coach Bennett, real exciting. Of course, this is not your first time involved with the March for Babies, but hopefully won't be your last either. Tremendous celebration, obviously, for you all, Matt. A lot of this, it being your first year as an ambassador family, your entire family involved. A real exciting time leading up to tomorrow's March.
Well, it's a privilege, Greg, to be able to tell our story and explain to folks how March of Dimes can change lives, how it can impact a life, how it can impact and change the life of a child that's either born premature or born with a defect. And it was an experience we never expected to happen to us, but it did. And we went through a lot of trial, a lot of tribulation, but I think the infrastructure that the March of Dimes over many, many years has created through its efforts and through fundraising helped us have a happy ending.
Absolutely. We want to sure talk about the story since you're willing to share it with viewers. But for Coach Bennett, as the honorary chairman, this must be your fourth or fifth year as the honorary chairman. And obviously, as we were originally doing out at the pavilion year after year after year, and then last year, a very successful move to Coastal Carolina University. What was that like for you, having been involved as long as you have been?
Well, you know, for us, with our daughter Hayes, she was just a month early, so weighed a little bit over 5 pounds. So we didn't go through anything like a lot of parents with children that are born weighing 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound, or like Matt and Laura with Caroline, to come into the world with so many things and had to have the transplant and so many prayers. And I met a lady the other day that used to work at a place where Matt, as the voice of the Chanticleers, came across, and she says, "Tell Matt I still pray for Caroline every day."
Wow.
And so I know when I go through my prayer time, I've got the Hogue family and Caroline every single day. So it's awesome to see miracle children, and that's what we call Caroline, and a lot of babies that live and go through, as Matt says, the trials and tribulations and the toughness, and just to put yourself in their shoes of what they went through and what parents go through. If you can't help babies that can't help themselves, who can you help?
Right. Those are great words. Those are great words, and that really drives it all home. And you highlight of course, there's another ambassador family, and you highlight those weights: 1 pound, 14 ounces, Jabrell Chisholm and his family having to go through that. Fortunately, your daughter was virtually full term. Is that correct?
She was, Greg, but she had a significant birth defect that affected her smooth muscle ability, and that affected several organs, the most life-threatening of which was her small bowel. And without the function of her small bowel, she would not have lived very long at all. And after being in the NICU for many, many days, about 45 days.
Wow.
Back in 2005, and going through several surgeries literally within the first 3 weeks of life, it became clear the only thing we could do was pursue a transplant of the small bowel, and that eventually occurred out in Nebraska at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, of all places, in September of 2006, and she's recovered nicely from that. And her quality of life now is exponentially better than it was supposed to be because of the outlook and the diagnosis. And all of those facilities and all the infrastructure that was in place, there's no doubt those things would not have been available without the work, the cumulative work of the March of Dimes over all these decades of building NICUs and supporting NICUs and giving doctors research grants and opportunities to learn more about what afflicts children and why they're born premature and with defects.
Absolutely, you know, and so much has to happen, obviously, as you say, on the research side. We think about back to 1938, we've heard that. I mean, we're celebrating 70 years, a real push there for them year after year, and clearly their first push, I think you said, was polio.
Right.
And obviously overcoming polio and then figuring out both babies and prematurity, a real issue to push behind, and we've seen that momentum. Just yesterday, Karen and Wendy were with us, highlighting from Lakewood and from PD Elementary the efforts that their kids, the students go through, and the level of interest that the kids have, knowing that babies are involved, that they're helping babies. You've seen that in the eyes of not only your own children, but in the eyes of a lot of the students that you've been to see.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you've got a good heart. It doesn't matter what age you are. People want to help kids. If it's a child helping a child, or, you know, young adults, older folks, but we really thank all the volunteers, all the people that give. It's neat to watch the different teams come, their T-shirts, the team captains, the work that they do. So it's great to watch it grow, and the goal keeps growing too. And in our economy today, it's tough for a lot of people to give, but you know that old saying is I think the more you give, the more you're blessed in return.
Absolutely.
And so we appreciate all you do. You're involved in so many charities, and I know what you do. A lot of people know what you do, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Well, Coach, it's not me. It's surely all the folks around me that make that happen, and surely no one can do it on their own. But that point, it drives home for everyone. The more you give, the more you get back. And we saw that last year with a $290,000 goal, a big new home, Coastal Carolina University. What would folks do if they're not out of the pavilion walking down to the beach? Well, they came through not only with $290,000, with $30,000 more than that. And this year, where the goal has jumped up to $365,000, a lot has to happen, but a lot has happened well before now to make tomorrow's march successful. Folks will be out at 9 a.m., I think, for the registration. Right. 9 a.m. out there. Give them a sense of why Coastal, or the setting there, that environment for folks. So what are they going to do if they've never been to a walk and they're coming out tomorrow morning for the first time?
Well, when they tore down the rides and all there at the pavilion, they had to have a place to go. Yeah. And so Joe Fisher, was her brainchild. She spoke with our president, then Ron Engel. And we just thought, what a great place to have it. You can have it in the football stadium, begin it there, walk our campus, and end up back there.
Oh, yeah.
And the neat thing is, afterwards, too, we have a punt, pass, and kick.
Yes, very
March
popular.
of Dimes, punt, pass, and kick.
Was pumping that up on Wednesday.
And our players are going to be there, and our coaches, and got it divided into different age groups. So even if you hadn't registered with a team, come on out to the walk, participate in the March of Dimes, punt, pass, and kick, and just have a great time. There'll be a lot of food out there. They have blow-ups. It's just a good time to appreciate what we do have and try to help others that are less fortunate.
You drive home that point about volunteers. So many volunteers working together to make it happen, whether it's ambassador families, whether it's honorary chairmen, whether it's folks like Ryan Swain who are working month after month. You remember Dennis Wade and all of his efforts, and all the committee chairs, but the team captains. It's amazing. Crystal on Wednesday drove home that point that 93 cents of every dollar in South Carolina raised goes right back into research, into education, into grants in these communities that go back for myriad aspects of, we try to think through what are all the things that are impacted during the early stages of birth.
Well, and Greg, I personally think when you look at the area where we are now, and it's such a quickly growing metropolitan area, it's going to continually put strains on all the services that are available to the public, and the medical field is not immune to that. And the March of Dimes and other organizations that work hard to improve and enhance that area are critical, because with so many people moving in, so many new people building homes. I mean, we see the influx of new residents every day. To be able to keep up and provide world-class services, it's critical that the March of Dimes is supported in the manner that it is, because you can't have a great community or a great metropolitan area without, having those world-class services. So I see it, as a way to continue to improve the community, aside from obviously the direct impact it has on, children that are born with these issues.
Got to give credit to a great writer out of the Laura scene, Etty Newlands, who had highlighted in a great interview with you back in February your goals just in that, when you highlighted that your wife for 45 days was with Caroline there in a NICU and a neonatal intensive care unit, and the idea of potentially having an opportunity to have one right here in the Grand Strand.
That's a big goal of ours. You know, Laura and I have seen a lot of different aspects of the medical environment. We've seen it in different states, different hospitals.
Right.
We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, I guess you could say, of the medical profession. And one thing that was difficult for us is we had to initially be in Columbia for 45 days. And then obviously we went to Nebraska, and she and Caroline stayed there for 10 months. We were in a position, we were blessed, fortunately, with the support of Coach Bennett, Coastal Carolina, my employer, who was tremendous during that period, and everyone there. Our church at Kingston Presbyterian did an amazing job supporting us. We were fortunate to have a support system that allowed us to go to Nebraska, go to Columbia, wherever we had to go. But we're realistic. Not a lot of folks may have that opportunity. Right. They may not be blessed in that manner. But wouldn't it be great to improve the medical facilities here in our own backyard?
Absolutely.
I mean, we've got all the hotels in the world. We've got all the entertainment options you can find. But when it comes to medical services, where do you go? If you had something you needed to do for a specialty, you're probably not going to stay in Myrtle Beach.
I'd have to be in the PD or in Charleston.
Exactly. So why not make it happen right here in our own backyard? And I think that also can speak to some of the economic development concerns that our area has had for years and years and years.
You talked about the prayers of your own, the prayers of even the woman you met who knows Matt. Clearly the athletic department and the University of Red Hole having a wrap around Matt and his family during the time. To think about a 10-month period, of course, Matt couldn't be there the whole time. I saw even in that great piece the highlight that he was at home with Rachel and having to maintain the role to keep her straight. But
there were so many people that came to the Hogue's, I guess, rescue as a family. And I remember Melinda Hyman, I remember Dwayne Beam and his wife would keep Rachel, and Matt had to do radio shows and do ball games. And I remember we had a golf tournament for Caroline, and mainly for Matt and Laura, to help them financially. But this community really rallied behind that. I got a call from Bob Sweezy with Burrs and Chapin saying, "We're bringing 3 or 4 teams. What can we do to help?" And so it's neat to see that people have a good heart and that they will help. They will help when someone's in need.
Absolutely. You highlighted a great idea about folks just coming out if they didn't set up a team beforehand.
Doesn't
Crystal
matter.
on Wednesday highlighted that folks could set up a team on Wednesday. They could set up a team yesterday. They could set up a team today, or they can come to the walk tomorrow and then set up a team and continue to raise dollars until the end of the calendar year, until the end of December, and keep raising dollars.
Crystal's got a tough job.
Yeah.
She's following Joe Fisher. And we all know how Joe Fisher was. You could not tell Joe no.
Right.
It didn't matter what she wanted. She had a way.
Yeah.
And Crystal, I tell her all the time, she's filling some big shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were blessed to have Joe Fisher here.
Yes, blessed to have Joe, and equally blessed Crystal is coming on strong. And they do so much. She and Colleen, within the PD division, they have 8 events in 6 counties here throughout the year. 6 marches, 6 walks, 6 marches.
The march now.
The march,
March
that's
for
right.
babies.
Correct me. I'll take that. Crystal will be happy you caught me there. 6 marches throughout the PD and here and in Georgetown, and then the big chefs event, and of course a very exciting community servant event.
And Greg, the walk's only 3 miles.
Right.
It's not like it used to be. It used to be a lot longer than that. But it's only 3 miles. So our football team will be there, our players and our coaches.
Are they going to be walking
they're
tomorrow?
going to walk. And
Really?
Last year we had a big old offensive lineman that walked half of it, had his truck and took off. I said, don't be scamming.
Taking the keys away.
Don't be scamming somebody. Yeah. I said, I'm going to make sure y'all walk the whole thing this year.
Right. I'm wondering how you're going to do that.
Well, as we came back, I looked down there and I saw him in his truck at the red light. And he kind of looked away, and I pointed. I said, "I got you, boy."
Yeah.
So
I love it.
They'll be walking and helping with the punt, pass, and kick.
Share with viewers real quick about the punt, pass, and kick. Would my 5-year-old daughter be interested in that? Or is it just
she would love
boys?
it.
Really?
Because there was, I remember a little girl last year. I can't remember what age group it was, but it's like 5 and under, and then there's all the 6-year-olds, all the 7-year-olds, all the 8-year-olds. We have all those different categories, and it's just a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've never thrown a football or never kicked it or never punted it. You can do it that day in Brooks Stadium,
Right.
and just have a nice memory
I love
of doing that,
Absolutely.
and might even win a little prize.
Listen up, prizes tomorrow. Another reason just to get out there. Of course, registration at 9. Crystal said a lot of folks will show up around 9:30. The walk kicking off punctually at 10. A little ceremony there. And, of course, again, so many tremendous sponsors, but volunteers drive it all. And volunteers wrap around the stories. The ambassador families have a tremendous role in helping to kick off the walk and being the face for the March of Dimes.
I think
For so many walkers there.
What's impressive, Greg, is the volunteers come up with so many innovative ideas
Right,
on how
right.
to raise funds,
Yeah,
too.
sure.
And I know I get a phone call constantly from a good friend of both of ours,
Right.
Ken Hunter, who was a
Oh,
part of
yeah,
the
of
ambassador
course.
family a few years
Absolutely.
ago. And his mind is working 1,000 miles an hour, and he comes up with so many great ideas about how to organize folks and come up with ways to raise money. And,
Right.
and I don't know that people realize just how much goes on behind the scenes with those volunteers. And these are folks that aren't getting paid a dime, and they have busy lives and they have a lot of work to do in their own lives, but they continually come up with new ways to raise money and push that goal even higher every year.
Right. Speaking of lives, what was that like, Matt? Can you explain it? Over the 10 months, of course, the 45 days of the Columbia experience. But for 10 months, while your wife and daughter are in Nebraska.
It was kind of like, I guess, like when these guys coach a game, you have to play all 4 quarters. You get to a point where you just sort of put your head down and you go day to day. And there's going to be up days, there's going to be down days, but my wife and I resolved very early on in the process, and it had a lot to do with our faith, our faith in Christ and our core belief that, our job is not to start asking a lot of questions about why or, why did it happen to us. All that's going to do is sidetrack us. That's going to push us aside from what we have to do for Caroline. So we just focused in on each day, pushing forward, trying to be optimistic, looking at every possibility we could try to give her a better life. And, everything has worked out. We've been extremely blessed. I mean, it's been a true miracle. And it really, I think what it did is it helped us. We talk a lot about enabling your faith. And I think that's really was the key in our experiences. Everyone's got their faith, but sometimes they're never in a position to be forced to have to test it. Right. And we were put in that position, and I feel like we tried to rise to that challenge. So, but there were a lot of positives that came out of it too. I mean, our 5-year-old saw different parts of the country.
Yes,
she got to fly on an airplane for the first time. So you try to look at some of those little things that add more to life, and we've tried to focus on some of that too.
We think about that, and clearly the ability to be a part of that for everyone, not only the Coastal family, but everyone wrapping around, as you highlighted, Kingston Presbyterian. And I saw in that piece that Etty had done, and the Sun News, Vitality did a great piece on you and the Chisholm family, and even highlighted you, I think, last Thursday as well. But a lot, so much that has to happen with other families outside of your immediate family that wrap around and support it. It's incredible.
The biggest advice that I could give to someone, and obviously we don't want the March of Dimes to be lost in this, because that's what we're here to talk about. But just when you get up every day, take a look around you, because there's probably somebody that needs you in some way, shape, or form. It may be nothing more than just a smile and a pat on the back. Hey, keep going. You're going to be fine. Or it may be something where you have to provide some financial support or some organizational support, but there's always somebody, if you look close enough, that's not too far out of your sphere of life, that could probably use your help. And that would be my advice.
Someone's picking up the phone if they're just hearing about the march right now. They're thinking, this event's in 24 hours. How can I really be involved? How can I help? What are some of the things they want to say to their friends if they're picking up the phone and calling, or if they're sending out some emails? You highlighted a catchphrase earlier on. I've heard you say it before, and it really drives home that mission about babies who can't help themselves. But what are some other things and to even say that again? I mean, what are some things that folks should say if they're picking up the phone saying, I just found out about a March for Babies tomorrow. I want to be out there.
If you don't know a child that's been affected with a birth defect or a premature birth or anything, I know if your child hasn't, you know someone who's has.
Right.
So come and be a part of it. Come out, walk, eat some donuts, drink some coffee.
Right. Yeah.
Put your arm around somebody, give them a hug, and be there. Bring your child to punt, pass, and kick.
Right. Right.
You know, if you're an exercise freak, come walk 3 miles. You want to run it? Come run it.
Right, yeah.
You know, our little boy Jeb will compete with you. He wants to be the first one through.
The first one to start.
Yeah, last year he took off and he ran the thing. And Carrie Rosick, who's in charge of our facilities, was in the golf cart trying to lead the way, and she finally told Jeb, go on. and so he ran the thing to say he was first.
Right, right.
And so if you are a giving person, you want to help somebody's child, a friend, your own, or someone you hadn't even met yet, come on out. We'd love to have you be a part.
Absolutely.
And that is big walk.
You were speaking from the
big march.
Yes, the big march for babies. You know, we've seen some other ambassador families. If you sit back and think about your first year of getting involved, and we think about the Riley Saffolds of the world, for a lot of folks who've seen these faces, they're now seeing Caroline and Jabrell. But over the years, Miles Pickett, families from both the Loris Walk and the Horry County Walk, but we think about, and now they've gotten a ride, a horseback ride for Riley. A lot of things wrapping around. So ambassador families really start out in a small fashion here and then ramp up. Of course, you highlighted Ken Hunter, and he'll be an ambassador member of the family for many, many years to come. And the impact of the March of Dimes. Crystal left something here from her interview on Wednesday. If your baby has ever received any vaccine to prevent polio, the March of Dimes has impacted you. If they ever got any surfactant therapy or went through those steps, the March of Dimes has impacted you. If your baby ever received any critical newborn testing. And for a lot of folks who don't have babies, they were a baby at one point. They have brothers, they have parents, they were babies. These steps are all impacted by the March of Dimes.
No question, and I know through our experience, the hospitals we were in, they're all struggling to get the kind of funding they want to be able to take their research and ramp it up to the next level. And these are the organizations they reach out to. They reach out to the March of Dimes and similar organizations for that extra push in funding that may not be coming from a private source or a public source. And it makes a big difference. I know it made a big difference for us. There's no question.
Absolutely. What are some of the things, I'm sure you've heard a lot of great ideas, fundraising ideas from some other teams that folks have talked about. If folks are, again, thinking about it right now, or even if they can't be there tomorrow and they say, I still want to be involved, I want to help out, I want to continue to raise some funds, what are some things that they may want to do? What are some fundraising techniques? Have you heard any creative ones?
I would say, the biggest way is to challenge your employer.
Right.
Wherever you work, challenge your supervisor, manager, what have you, that, hey, we need to get involved in this. Whether it's a coffee can by the lunch area or the break room, or something even more sophisticated, but get your employer energized. That's an easy place to start for anyone. Some of the other unique ideas have been utilizing area restaurants where for a period of time on a certain day they'll contribute part of their profits to the March of Dimes, and hopefully that'll drive more traffic, so it's a win-win.
Yes.
But it runs the gamut. We've talked about the car washes, bake sales, just basically anything that can bring people together, get them involved, and number one, create greater awareness. To find dollars at the same time.
Absolutely. Anything your players have been doing at all, Coach, or things over the last 5 years that you remember?
I know some of the schools will have like a blue jean day. You pay $1 to wear blue jeans.
Absolutely.
Pay $1 to wear shorts. Pay $1 to wear a hat.
Oh yeah, Wendy and Karen talked about a lot of those yesterday. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, our schools got a big challenge down there with Forest Brook.
Right.
I think Forest Brook's one of the top schools in the state of South Carolina.
Number one in the state.
Number one in the state.
Like Coastal here, absolutely, in so many ways, yes.
So it's a
number
great
one
challenge.
in the state, and then of course PD Elementary, I think 5th in the state.
Right.
So those guys are going back and forth. Wendy was talking about that yesterday. Karen in an early stage there with Lakewood. But to hear about Linda Puckett and all those efforts that the administrators and teachers, but to see the parents really wrap around it. Their kids are out there on the front line, but the parents have got to allow them to do that and have got to support it. They know that their children were babies at one time, and many of them had premature babies.
I think when you've got the young kids in the elementary schools involved, you're teaching them right there. Or a lot of times they'll teach us. how important it is to care for others.
Absolutely.
I know our oldest, Rachel, just the other day in the car line where she's dropped off at school, had the bucket out and raised $200 there.
Come on.
I'm serious. Just in the car line, going through and dropping off children, and one person actually dropped a $100 bill in the bucket. So
no way.
Yeah, that was a 10, 15-minute exercise and $200 in the pot.
Well, if parents are walking out the door right now, they need to think
Absolutely.
about getting the bucket out. Today's a great day to do it.
No
Matt, I'm
question.
sorry we've run out of time.
It's good
Thanks
to be
so
with you,
much for
Greg.
everything. Congratulations to you and Laura for having a
Thank you.
healthy baby. Absolutely. And Caroline getting healthier every day, I'm
Absolutely.
sure. Absolutely. Coach Bennett, thanks
Always
so
a
much
pleasure.
again for your honorary chairmanship's role again. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with David Bennett and Matt Hogue coming up next. You may know these men. One of them is the voice of the Big South and the Chanticleers. One of the top coaches in the land. You probably didn't imagine you'd see him on a Friday morning sitting here getting teary-eyed, talking about babies. Talking about babies. That's what we're sitting here about on a Friday morning. 3 men in a hotel lobby, highlighting a special day tomorrow, the March for Babies 2008, the Horry County March. Coastal Carolina University is the place. Registration 9 a.m. The walk kicks off at 10. A lot of fun, a lot of celebration that happens tomorrow. But there's not always a celebration when babies are born prematurely at 28 weeks and 1 pound, 4 ounces. The celebration's still occurring as a lot of parents get through that time and can now hear a healthy baby cry. It's a special one. Get out there tomorrow. Celebrate the March of Dimes of the March for Babies 2008, Coastal Carolina University. Thanks, guys.